Welcome to another session in decisions training. In today's session, we will be looking into monitoring on decisions. So this would be on version 8. So we'll be covering concepts around how we can monitor on decisions internally. So monitoring in decisions means taking a deep dive into systems folder. So when we speak about monitoring, the first thing that comes into mind is where do we monitor? So this monitoring is available right on the systems folder. So the systems folder is accessible only to administrators. This lets us to change the settings as well as monitor how our flows, forms, or any other designer elements that are running inside decisions. We can look into integrations, we can look into API connections or the flows or any other issues and identify those roadblockers from the system folders. Or we can also change the theme or the look and feel or create accounts all under systems folder. So let's go ahead and understand more about systems folder. So when we speak about systems folder, it constitutes of administration, applications, designers, integrations, jobs and events, security, settings, and systems data. So these are all the subfolders under a systems folder. So I'll be switching back to the studio and take you through on how systems folder looks like in V8. So we are currently on our version 8. As you see, the systems folder is now available on the left hand section and it is separated separately. And as we click on the little icon over here, we would be navigated into the system folder. As mentioned earlier, the system folder has its own subfolders, that is administration, applications, and designers, hosting, integrations, jobs and events, security, as well as systems data. So when we speak about administration, these are the activities of managing the decisions instances and configurations. Applications are the place where we manage projects available in the App Store or workflow catalog. So designers manage the designer configurations that typically appear in a studio or designers. Integrations is the place where we can set up our integrations to external systems, access the tokens as well as webhooks. So jobs and events helps us to set up or maintain message queues, schedule jobs and events. Security is the place where we can manage the directory to authenticate decisions users. So under here, we can able to create accounts, groups, as well as how we can manage these particular accounts or groups. So under settings, we can find the updated settings for all DLSs or decisions default settings. Systems data is the place where we can manage the data available in the entities in the environment that we are working on. So now moving on to the next point, what are the actions that are available on a systems folder? So the systems folder, as mentioned earlier, manages the permissions. So manage and maintaining the permissions is completely available on systems folder. So when we are trying to give users a particular access to a particular portal or maybe an instance, that can be managed under manage permissions. We also have the ability to restart instances. So if you don't have access to the decision server, you can actually restart service host manager from the studio itself. So we also have theme editor. So where now dealing with the less files will be much more easier. So in case if you want to change the look and feel of the status bar, instead of orange color, you would like to have it a different color. So you can actually change the theme under the theme editor. So license information is actually where you can see what license is currently issued under your name, under your instance. So if I just move back and take you to the designer studio, here under the system, as mentioned earlier, we have all the subfolders, and by right clicking over here, we would be able to see that we can manage the permission, update the security folders, as well as see the license information that we have been given to. And as you see, my license expires on this particular date, etc. So all this information can be managed from the systems folder. Now, the next topic we would like to move is administration. So when we speak about administration, these are the activities of managing decisions, instances, and configurations. So as I navigate back into the studio, you would be able to see under administration, we can do auditing, cache, containers, encryption. We have features module, which has all the services. We also have importing and notifications, how we would like to set up our default notifications, repository action flows, and system tools. So administration comprises of all of this. And now with the help of administration, let's deep dive into what each of the activities actually do. So caching is a place where it configures and manages different cache definitions for applications requiring better access to data. Containers allows us to package our own applications code, configurations, and dependencies into a single unit. Deployment of images is a place where we can create an image of our own environment so that we can utilize the container feature. Features is the place where we can install extensions or native integrations to decisions to enhance the platform capabilities. System tools is the place. This is where we have a lot of different functionalities. So it administers the logging, profiler, system validations, and flow management. We will go deep into the system tools and see or explore what it actually does consist of. So now if we switch into the system tools, the first thing we would be speaking about is event viewer. So let me just navigate into the studio and take you through where the system tool are existing. So under system, we have administration, and under administration, we have our system tools. And as soon as we click on system tools, we would be able to see all the functionalities under system tools like automated testing, event viewer, flow management, logging, maintenance mode, or the profiler, and system validation. So now we are going to speak about event viewer. So as I mentioned, the event viewer can capture SQL calls, API timings, and flow step timings. So as you see in the screenshot, as well as right in our studio, here we are in the currently in the event viewer. And as mentioned earlier, it actually captures the capture API timings, flow step timings, as well as SQL calls. So we can navigate into each one of this and set up our own flow step timings for which we would like to capture. We can also capture the SQL calls at a frequent intervals as well. So the next one we would be covering under event viewer is what type of reports does this display. So event viewer report displays time-stamped messages with different warning levels. These reports are useful for an administrator to view system-related events happening within decisions. Some of these reports will not only have any data to display if you are not utilizing that feature. For example, if you do not have any running or pending scheduled jobs, the scheduled job log will not have any data to display in the report. So if I just go over here, you would be able to see currently we are in the event viewer. And if I just click on more, and here we do have our scheduled job log. So if we have any of the existing scheduled jobs, we would be able to see those particular scheduled jobs. If there are none, we would not be able to see any of those as well. So this is the way that we can actually look into the scheduled jobs or the pending jobs. So this report over here gives that particular information which we just spoke about. And the next thing that we would like to look into is system activity. This actually gives us all the information related to the system activity. So right under the system tools, if we just go back, we have our event viewer, and under here, if we click under more, we have the system activity. As soon as we navigate over here, it gives us entire information about the system. So what was the event time, how many flows it actually got executed at that particular time, number of steps, if there were any API calls that made, how much RAM has been used. So all this information is found right under the system activity. So now if we move under to the next category, which is upgrade history. So this is also another important functionality that gives us or shows us entire info on when the upgrade has been done. Decisions by default captures all of the upgrade history information. So this is found right under system tools, under event viewer. And if we click on more, we would be able to see the upgrade history. So you can see that these were the versions and these were the timings that the upgrade has been made. So these are captured by default. And the next thing that we would like to cover is boot history. So this displays the data and time of when an instance was restarted, including who initiated the restart and what for what reason. This report includes the version number, IP address, and machine name of who has initiated that. So everything, as you see in decisions, is completely monitored. You can able to track all of these things under the system tool. So if we just go over here under system tools, we have our under more, we can actually track that particular thing. So this is about boot history we are referring to. So when we click on boot history, it is present. So I have marked it as a favorite. So right, it is present right over here. So as you see, the boot history is showing us all the information when it has been rebooted, or what was the restarted reason, if anything was specified, and which version has it been done, what was the IP address, machine name. So as you see, this was all my machine done on my single machine. So you can see the machine name as constant. So this is all about the boot history. So now we are going to speak about scheduled job logs. As mentioned earlier, we would be able to see the scheduled job logs under scheduled jobs. And this also gives us the information about not only scheduled job logs, but also the pending job logs. If any scheduled jobs are running or pending, they will be appeared here. This report displays detailed information about each job, including start time, complete time, if the job resulted in an error or what errors are those. So as I have already taken you there, let me just go into scheduled jobs. Yes, here we are in the scheduled jobs job log page. It also has the pending job logs as well. Now let's move into the next one, which is cache. And now, as mentioned, it reports all of the different cache definitions and the size of those cache and how much size has it been consumed within decisions. So for this, we can just go under our system tools. Right over here on the top, we have our cache size. So it gives us all the details of those caches and the count. Now let's move into the next one, which is thread jobs. So it is a report of all the active thread pools and their corresponding jobs scheduled to run. Within each thread queue, there is an action to clear the job or run it. So if we go into our studio, we have our event viewer, and over here, if we click on more, and there we have thread jobs under system activity. So as mentioned earlier, it gives all the default queues. We can group it. We can also see under which bit it has been done under job description, job ID. We can see the job description and other information as well. So these are all the active thread jobs. We can also see the account login history. So this report displays the time and date of login, who logs in, and when the user logs out of the portal. So for this, we just have to go back into our studio under system tools, event viewer. We have accounts login history. So it gives us all the information of who has logged in and what time. In case if we have identified or given any user identifier, it would also throw us that particular information. As I am currently in my local system, I have never logged out of this. So you can see the log date is not available. Yeah, right over here, I tried logging out and you can see that. This is about account login history. And now we have code buckets. So when decision compiles any custom structure or service, this compile will generate a CS file dynamically and place this file in code buckets. The report displays all code buckets files that have been compiled inside decisions. So within this report, there is the ability to edit or delete the compiled code. So for this, we can just navigate into system tools, and under event viewer, we have all our more category. And here we can just click on our code buckets. So as mentioned here earlier, it reports all the CS files that has been created. Now speaking on, there is a log service details as well. So this report displays any entity that has been logged. When the entity is logged, until who has logged it is also being displayed under this report. So for this, let's navigate back into the studio. And here under system tools, we have event viewer. Over here, we as soon as we click on more, we would be able to see our log service details right about message queues. So here currently it is empty. We have not logged any service, but you can see that it captures all the information like what is the ID, until when it is logged, by whom it is logged, the user email ID, is it for a specific client, or etc. So we can group these as well. So the next thing is report activity. So a current screenshot of all reports that are currently being run under decisions or in the system memory is captured under this particular report activity. This report includes information such as report name, its ID, and how much memory the report is using. So for this, let's navigate back into the studio. Under studio, we have system tools. Under event viewer, we have more. So as soon as we click on more, we have report activity. So when we click on report activity, it gives us all the information that we just discussed. So moving on to the next, that is report execution statistics. This report is very similar to the report activity report, but this report includes historical data from reports that are no longer in the memory. So it is right below under report activity. So if we click under more, and there is report execution statistics. So as mentioned earlier, it comprises all the historical data, includes the reports which are not even in the memory. So now let's discuss on to the next one, that is report structure. So detailed information on any report in the portal is available under the report structure. This report includes what the data type is, whether it is a custom or whether it is a SQL, or what the data source is, from where the fields are coming in, and any other information. So it is also present right under the system tools. Under the more, we have the report structure right below the report activity, as you see. So as soon as we click on report structure, currently there are no reports. So that is the reason this shows empty. So as mentioned earlier, anything that are currently not available, okay, it just took some time. So there are some existing reports. And as you see, this is a custom report, and this report over here is a SQL type. So it has all the information. So in case if you don't see any of these reports, it means that there are no particular activities or active reports that are currently running in, or maybe any other active activities that does not exist in under that particular field. So now the next thing that we are going to discuss is data structure status. So this report shows every data structure within decisions in one place, including whether or not they are compiled. Actions on this report include modifying, viewing the data structure, as well as attempting to recompile it if it is unloaded. So it is present right under system tools. Under event viewer, we have more. So as we click on more, we would be able to see the data structure status under cold compile results. So if we click on this, this would try to fetch in all the data structures that are available. So you can see these are the existing data structures that are available. And next we have orphan entities. Orphan entities are entities that are used to be in a folder, but the folder that used to contain them has been removed. So it is also present right under system tools, under more. If we click on here, we have orphan entities. As we click on this, we would be able to see all the orphan entities right under this particular report. So this means these were the entities where the folders actually existed, but the folders were removed. Now let's move into our next topic, that is application. So this is all about the system tools. As we have under system tools, we have event viewer, and we covered all the reports under the event viewer so far. So now let's move into the administration. So as mentioned earlier, the administration has a lot of other things. So system tools is one of them. In addition to that, we have auditing, cache, containers, and features notifications as well. So managing projects available in the App Store or the workflow catalog is possible with the help of applications. So if we just move on to the applications, which are right over here under applications. Now we are speaking to applications. So we have workflow catalogs. We can actually add our own catalog under any one of these categories. We can keep it under general so that once we publish a workflow or a report or a rule, this would be available to those particular people who have been given permissions to access those particular things. So we can also identify any of the new process or give that application access via this applications portal. Now moving on to the designers. So the designers is present right below the applications. So as of now, we covered administration, applications, as well as now we are moving into the designers. So under designers, we have all the elements like agents, alias, assignments, catalog, CSS, where we can actually add the CSS or create or upload our own CSS documents or edit the existing CSS is quite possible. We also have email templates where we can upload our desired email templates. As you see, I have all of these email templates currently existing. So we have images, as mentioned earlier. We can have all the decisions images. These are by default images which are available, icons which can pick. So we have repository, we have toolbox customization, and we also have unit test management. So when we speak about the designers, the main thing that it actually does is manage the designer configurations that typically appear in a studio or designer portal. So the first thing let's discuss is about agents. So this management tool allows communication within a client server that is secured with a firewall. So if we go under agents, which is right in the designers, so we would be able to manage all of the client servers that are secured under a firewall. Currently, we do not have any of this, so this looks empty. But if there were any issues or any communication with the client server, we can manage it right under the agents. The next thing we have is catalog, where the decisions, elements, actions, steps, components that you see in the studio are available. So if we go under the catalog, we would be able to see all the templates, actions, assignment filters, everything that we see in the studio under steps catalog is available right over here. The next thing that we have is CSS. As mentioned earlier, we can add, update, or delete our cascading style sheets that we might be utilizing for our environment in the forms or in the pages. So here are the list of CSS documents that I have uploaded so far. The next thing is email templates. As mentioned earlier, this would also gives us the ability to add, update, or delete the email templates applied to our email notifications. The next important thing that we have is lookup lists and system constant. Setting up lookup values and global variance to the data that is frequently utilized can be declared and easily accessible to the designers under this particular category. So here, under lookup list, we can create or define our own constants or add a suggested links. And from this is the place where the lookup basically happen. And then we have toolbox customization, which customizes our decisions environment to meet the needs of the organization. So this is right under designers. And here we have toolbox customization. Under toolbox customization, we can customize our rules, data samples, elements, all of this right over here. So this is all about the designers. So now if we move on to the next one, that is integrations. So setting up integrations in decisions is quite easy. So we have the capability to set up with any external systems, tokens, and webhooks. So we can connect with databases, external services, OAuth, APIs, as well as webhooks. So databases, no need to use our backend SQL database only. So if you have any of your existing databases, you can also connect with them. If you are needing to read or write data into another DB, you can actually or easily configure it right under integrations. We also have external system support, that is SOAP, WCF, REST, etc. All are configurable to communicate with the applications that we use on day-to-day basis. We also have the ability to set up OAuth. So setting up tokens to applications which we use or utilizing that require OAuth connections is very easy and standardized. So setting up and managing webhooks on real time is also possible. So we can manage these on real-time calls to any other applications. So if we just navigate into our studio, we have integrations. Under integration, we have database queries, databases, external services. So as you see, there is a local database and there is a test server. So we can configure or create a connection to our required database. As mentioned earlier, it can be an AWS, it can be a Microsoft Azure or Postgre based upon our existing requirements. So we also have external service connections, which we can add as a REST service or as a web service. So once we establish a REST service, the particular service would be available right over here under this particular category. Similarly, for OAuth as well, we can give the provider information. We can also set up tokens as well. So as you see, this is already existing, which is Dropbox as well as Twitter. So in case if there is a authenticity and there are tokens, those also would be available right over here. So we can click on create token and we can actually set up a new token as well right over here. So let me just refresh this. So this is all about integrations. And now if we speak about jobs and events, so this is used to set up and maintain message queues, schedule jobs, as well as events. So schedule jobs is something which we can automate these jobs without actually triggering them manually. So when we speak about jobs and events, there are multiple activities under jobs and events, which is events, message queues, work queues, and schedule jobs. Events is something that decisions can trigger flows to kick off based on events, including a failed ping or maybe a new document in a particular file directory or some external event that occurred. So it can be anything. So based upon that event happening, we can schedule a job. We can also give message queues, which means it is a queue of messages to be sent to different partners or applications or users as well. Schedule jobs, as mentioned earlier, it creates and manages processes that should run on defined schedules. Work queues are something decisions can put work into queues, and decision server can work on tasks within those queues. So if we go under a system, our we have our jobs and events. So under jobs and events, we have message queue handlers, message queues, as well as scheduled jobs. So right now we have one scheduled job, and we can create a new scheduled job as well by clicking on right over here. So when we click that, we can add our scheduled job. We can create the flow or pick the flow that we are actually looking to automate for a particular time period. So we can specify the start date, when it should actually run automatically, like whether it is daily or monthly or bi-weekly. We can specify those and we can complete this information. Moving on, now we do have security. So security is the place where we can manage the directory to authenticate decisions user. So we have accounts, we have groups, we have named sessions, as well as security questions under the security. So this is the place where we would be able to create accounts, create groups, and named sessions. So to simplify what we have discussed so far, this is what a security feature actually helps us to do. So when we speak about accounts, we can manage account information about decisions users, including passwords, their culture, their impersonations, and landing pages, all under the accounts. We can also set up groups or manage groups where the accounts can be a member of easily manageable permissions throughout the portal and task group members with the tasks. Similarly, named session is a token, like a way to authenticate users and makes it possible to pass in a specific user account when invoking a flow or a rule via a REST or without exposing the user account information. We also have security questions. Security questions can be used as an external level of security when clients contact us in order to verify their identity. We can also promote them for the answer to the question they have selected. So if we go under our studio settings, which is a system, and here we have our security. So we have accounts, we can create a new account, we can manage those particular accounts by right clicking on that particular one. We can reset the password, we can manage those, activate or deactivate all of those right over here. Similarly, we can do this for groups, named sessions, as well as security questions, and we also have relations, whether it is related to a particular group or whether it is related to a particular accounts. So we can relate two different groups simultaneously. So now we have settings. So update settings for DLLS or decision default settings is possible under this settings tab. So we have active directories, designer repository, designer studio, as well as portal settings under this particular category. So if we go under system, we have settings. So as you see, we have a lot of different settings. So we can click on Active Directory, platform features, maybe the chart settings, or maybe the portal settings. So when we click on this, we would be able to see all the settings that are under this particular portal, which we can customize or change. We also have designer settings or the studio settings, logging settings, licensing settings. So we can play a lot around this. So it has by default includes every feature or every settings that we can configure in decisions for any of the use case. So now let's move into the next one. So before we move into the next one, also I would like to emphasize on the most commonly used settings. So which is Active Directory, Designer Repository, Designer Studio, and Portal. So Active Directories manages accounts and groups using Active Directory, which we can configure decisions to use the accounts and groups from a defined AD. Designer Studio is something where the settings of the studio are completely available. So it includes default templates, colors, as well as available actions. So you can modify these under the Designer Studio settings. Similarly, the repository settings can also be managed under the Designer Repository settings, as well as the portal settings constitutes global settings of an end user portal, including the logo, title bars, default pages. So these are the most frequently or predominantly used settings categories. And now if we move on to the next one, that is the systems data. So systems data is another subfolder under the system. So here we have systems data. So under system data, we would be able to manage the data available in entities in the environment. So we have multiple functions again under system data, similar to any others. So as you see under system data, we have assignment priorities, assignment roles, business metrics, contact details, languages, locations, and tags. So out of all of this, the most commonly or predominantly used one are languages, document types, business metrics, location, and tags. So when we speak about languages, we can add and manage languages to use in the decisions. So if we just go into our studio under system data, we have languages. So we can create our own language or add the language that the decisions needs to manage under the languages catalog. We also have locations, which can add and edit different locations with different work days, work hours, as well as holidays. So if you have a group of companies in multiple locations, you can actually customize different work days for each of the entity, different work hours to each employee in that particular entity, as well as holidays. All of those things can be set under locations. Tags is the place where we can store, add, and edit tags for entities in decisions. Business metrics is the place where we can add and configure business metrics to be captured in that particular folder. And the last one is document type. We can create new document types to use in decisions. Moreover, we can edit the documents or change the values in the existing documents as well. So these are the most commonly used functionalities under system data. In addition to that, we also have assignment priorities. We can mark whether the assignment is high, low, medium, or urgent, or you can also customize your own assignment priority types. We can also define assignment roles. We can create our own, and those will be appeared right over here. We have the chat messages. Any messages can be also appeared over here. So this is about the systems data. Now let's move into the decisions profiler. So now till this point of time, we have actually covered systems folder, what it actually includes, and then we spoke about administration. Under administration, we spoke about system tools and event viewer, and then we spoke about applications, designers, integrations, jobs and events, security, as well as system data. So now we would like to cover about the system tools. Under the system tools, we have profiler. So this is the place where we have all of the information. So profiler can be accessed under system, administration, system tools, as well as the profiler. So with the help of profiler, we can actually allow to pinpoint steps in the flow that may be causing performance issues by writing out all the step execution with the count of execution and time those executions took. From version 6 onwards, the profiler is always running. So even in version 8, the profiler is by default running. Before that, it was scheduled, but after version 6, it is by default running. We can actually start a new session to record a snapshot of the activities during a specified time period. So as displayed, this is the screenshot of the profiler. This is how the profiler would look. So we can actually load a session, start a new profile session. We can actually download the profile data and also click on text view to see where the issues are. And with the help of text view, a document can be downloaded, which gives us the ability to look into all the issues. So this would help us to identify any of the bottlenecks that actually triggered. So we would be able to see max time or average time that took for any particular job to run. So as you see, this is all the profiler information. It gives us the minimum time, maximum time, which item has actually took a lot of time, etc. So this is very handy. So when you don't want the user to get stuck at any particular point of time, they can actually come over here and see why an API called got actually failed, or what was the issue of a particular job is not running as expected in terms of efficiency. So all those information can be captured right over here. So we can see on database calls what is happening around the database calls. We can also navigate into more, and we can see the profile sessions which are currently existing. As you see, we don't have any existing profile sessions. We can also see profile view summarized. So it gives us the complete view of profiles which are summarized as well. So this is about the profile. And now we can also move. This is all the example of a profile data, which we just discussed, that it gives us the ability to download the profile data as a text and gives us the indication where we have actually to look in to identify the bottlenecks. So this is all about monitoring in decisions. So to summarize, today we have discussed all about the system tools which are actually under administration. So this helps us to monitor all of the activities that are happening in decisions. And under system tool, we discussed about event viewer, profiler, and we also have other functionalities like logging, where all the logs do happen. We can also identify that level of log, whether it is a warning or a fatal logs. So all those information is captured right under system tools. We also have discussed about applications. Under application, we have workflow catalog, where we can give access to the users to look into a specific workflow or a catalog. This can be available right on their dashboard. So we can create categories under these particular things and provide access to the end users from the workflow catalog. We also discussed about designers. So designer has a lot of elements or the categories. So each of them has its own functionality or use case. So under catalog, we would be able to find all the steps available in the steps toolbox. So it would be present right over here. We would be also able to add or edit the CSS, email templates, images, as well as toolbox customization is completely possible via designers. So similarly, we discussed about integration, how external services can be handled, as well as OAuth, as well as webhooks can be handled. We also discussed about jobs and events, how scheduled jobs work, how message queues works in decisions. And then we discussed about security, about accounts, groups, named sessions, and what are the security questions that are available as well. So then we covered about settings. So under settings, we have all different type of settings like Active Directory, Studio settings, portal settings, as well as integration settings. So all these are available right over here under settings. And then we discussed about system data. System data includes assignment priorities, business metrics, languages, locations. Under locations, we can customize the required work hours as well as holidays for each of the users. So all of this information has been covered, and this is how we can monitor within decisions. So in case if you have any further queries, you can always reach out onto documentation.decisions.com and refer to that particular query. Select your version, and here we go. So as mentioned earlier, Profiler is something which is by default running right from version 6. So on version 6, version 7, and version 8, you did not need to think about how Profiler is working. It is by default running in the background and captures all of the information for us. So thank you for joining in today's session, and have a great day.